In May 2023, some sections of Valencia fans were recorded making monkey noises and chanting racial slurs at Real Madrid winger Vinicius during a league match, causing him to lose his composure and leading to a 10-minute pause in the game. In 2013, Kevin Prince Boateng, playing for AC Milan in a friendly against Pro Patria, faced monkey chants from the crowd. Frustrated, he kicked the ball into the stands, removed his shirt, and walked off the pitch, followed by his teammates, resulting in the match's abandonment. In 2014, during a La Liga match at Villarreal, a fan threw a banana at Barcelona fullback Dani Alves as he prepared to take a corner. Alves, remaining unperturbed, picked up the banana, peeled it, ate it, and continued play. We could keep this list going all day, folks. These are just the latest episodes in football's ongoing battle with racism. Even with all the fancy rules and sanctions in place today, this nonsense persists. Imagine how rough it was decades ago when there were no guardrails. Being a black footballer back then, tough as nails. You watching the Blues archive and we narrate the heartbreaking struggles of Chelsea's first black player, Paul Canoville, in this video. When the first black professional footballer, Arthur Wharton, burst into the scene of British sports in the 1880s, spectators were mesmerised by what they saw. It's difficult to equate him to a sports person of today, but think of him as a sort of Victorian Deion Sanders, or maybe Bo Jackson, the sort of extraordinary athlete whose varied talents couldn't be confined to a single sport. Born in Gold Coast, now modern Ghana, he played football, both in goal and on the wing. He played cricket, rugby, was a competitive cyclist, and even equalled an amateur world record of 10 seconds for the 100-yard sprint in the 3A's championship. Arthur's ability and unusual style as a goalkeeper, a proponent of punching the ball rather than catching it, a technique that tends to get English traditionalists hot under the collar even today. However, he suffered from racism throughout his life, facing the sort of insults it doesn't take much imagination to conjure. Newspaper reports described him as dusky. He was known by some as Darky. Wharton died aged 65 in 1930, penniless, virtually forgotten, and buried in an unmarked grave until nearly 60 years later. His cause was taken up and his story told more widely. Given the racism Arthur Wharton faced as the first black professional footballer, one could easily predict that subsequent black footballers would encounter similar problems. But the reality is that it got worse with time, and the late 1970s and 1980s are widely regarded as a period when overt racism was particularly pervasive in English football, both on and off the pitch. This era saw widespread racist abuse directed at black players, including monkey chants, banana throwing, and verbal slurs from fans, often with little immediate institutional response. In the late 1970s, West Bromwich Albion's trio of black players, Laurie Cunningham, Cyril Regis and Brendan Batson, cheekily dubbed the 3 Degrees after the American vocal group, smashed racial barriers by regularly taking the pitch together. Their talent was undeniable, with Cunningham even catching Real Madrid's eye, becoming the first Englishman to rock the Los Blancos kit. But the terraces were a battleground. Fans hurled vicious racist abuse, monkey chants, slurs, and this was so normalised that these players had to grow armour-thick skin just to get through matches. When Cyril Regis earned an England call-up in 1982, he opened his mail to find a bullet and a note snarling, "You'll get one of these through your head if you play for England." Paul Canoville stepped into the brutal world of 1980s English football as a young, gifted winger, born in 1962 in Hillingdon, London, to Caribbean immigrant parents. At just 19, he became Chelsea Football Club's first black player, signing from non-league Hillingdon Borough in December 1981. But his dream debut on April 12, 1982, against Crystal Palace, turned sour fast. As he warmed up to come on as a substitute, the teenage Canoville was hit with a barrage of vile racial slurs piercing through the crowd's roar. He tried to ignore it, but when he stole a glance, his heart sank. Those spewing hatred, faces twisted with rage, were Chelsea fans decked out in blue shirts and scarves. His own supporters.
I'm stretching, and then I hear, "Oi, gollywog, sit down." I'm thinking, boy, Crystal Palace fans, them really tough. Ignore that, Paul. They ain't gonna put me off my game. "Hey, Wog, didn't you hear? Go on. Nah, and nobody saying nothing. Come on, man. This time I got my back in. I don't know who.
Wow.
Boy, it went worse. Bruv, I had to turn around because I said, no, what, go on? No, what, wait, what? And when I saw it wasn't Crystal Palace fans, it was my own fans that were racially abusing me.
Wow.
And that shook me up. When I mean shook me, I was like, but brother, I'm playing the same shirt that you're supporting. What?
Wow.
Brother, I didn't even want to take the tracksuit off. Go on, Paul, get on it. All right. If I wanted to tell him I don't want to go on, but I couldn't tell him that because that would have been fault. I took the tracksuit off and I waited. I hugged the line. I didn't go nowhere. I got the ball, pass it back. I'm waiting for the referee. Blow that whistle, please.
Wow.
The abuse didn't let up. Canoville poured his soul into his game, hoping his flair on the pitch would win them over. In the 1982-83 season, with Chelsea teetering on the edge of relegation to the third division, he was a standout, his performances crucial in scraping enough points to stay up. Yet the racist taunts kept coming, leaving him wondering what more he could possibly do to earn their respect.
Difficult, hurtful. It made me have to play twice as good or twice as better than my teammates just to try to be accepted. That's how I felt. It was always a battle. Don't get me wrong, it was a battle.
His family urged him to walk away from the club, but Canoville stayed, grinding harder every day.
I don't even know how I got home. All I had was phone calls telling me, Paul, why do you want to play for a racist side like that? Why do you want to play for them? And I'm trying to explain, it's not the club. It's just some ignorant fans. I don't care. Why are you going to play? So my thought now is, if I leave and go to a next club and the same thing happens to them, what's that going to do? I said, no, man, you ain't going to take my dream away. I've come too far.
His teammates, though supportive behind closed doors, were muzzled from speaking out publicly to avoid getting dragged into the controversy of his presence. Ahead of the 1983-84 season, Chelsea signed Scottish winger Pat Nevin, a player who'd compete with Canoville for the same wing spot but became his closest ally. Nevin, with a bit of a maverick streak, was the only Chelsea player to openly stand up for Canoville, calling out the racist abuse and proving a true friend on and off the pitch.
The club, and they know now, they didn't do enough. Nobody from authority, nobody from came and asked me, Paul, how are you doing? The only person,
nothing.
And that must have been the third where we got promoted. And we had a flux of new players. And the person I linked with was Pat Nevin. We linked with Pat from Scotland, great winger. He's on the right, I'm on the left. We combinated well. But we played Crystal Palace again. And I'm receiving the same racist abuse. Now, this is when the game was just being televised, started to be televised. And Pat scored the only goal. So they wanted to interview. So Pat, about the goal, I said, no. Let me tell you something, I'm not talking about this game. I'm talking about the racist abuse that Paul Canoville received. It's a disgrace. And from the fans itself, brother, nobody's done that. I'm like, Pat, what are you doing, bro?
Wow, you're supposed to be...
Yeah, just neutral. Brother, he got in trouble from my own chairman. Oh yeah, told him off, don't be doing that. But Pat didn't care. He's an outspoken person.
Paul Canoville was raised single-handedly by his mother alongside his sister, as his father, uninterested in family life, had vanished early on. 21 years after last seeing his father, Canoville reunited with him at a game that marked one of his finest performances in a Chelsea jersey. He invited his father to watch him play at Hillsborough, where Chelsea faced one of the league's best-performing teams at the time, Sheffield Wednesday, in a League Cup fifth-round replay in 1985. The match initially seemed headed for disappointment when coach John Neal named Canoville as a substitute, and Chelsea trailed by 3 goals at half-time. Replacing Colin Lee at half-time, Canoville scored the first goal of Chelsea's comeback and helped put the Blues 4-3 ahead, though Sheffield Wednesday scored a last-minute equaliser. After the game, he met his father, who had settled in Sheffield. but his time at Chelsea was nearing its end. An altercation with a teammate who racially abused him led to him being transferred to Division 2 side reading for £60,000 on August 1986. Canoville left behind the persistent racist abuse from some Chelsea fans, carrying his talent and resilience to a new chapter. At Reading, Paul Canoville's First Division pedigree earned him respect, but his career was plagued by a string of injuries that only worsened. A persistent knee injury kept him in and out of rehab, robbing him of consistent match fitness. By November 1987, that knee threw in the towel for good, forcing him to hang up his boots at just 25. He kicked around in non-league clubs to keep the football flame alive, but the abrupt end to his pro career set the stage for some rough times. Battling drug addiction, depression, and the heartbreaking loss of his infant son, plus a cancer scare in 1996. With 11 kids from 10 different women, life threw him some extra curveballs. However, Canoville later found purpose through motivational speaking, working with Chelsea's education department to address racism and share his experiences, which helped him rebuild his life. 35 years after his bitter exit from Chelsea, the club paid tribute to his legacy by naming a hospitality suite at Stamford Bridge's Shed End the Paul Canoville Suite, a nod to his trailblazing role as their first black player. Being the first black player to play for Chelsea, Paul Canoville paved the way for future black players like Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, Ashley Cole, Didier Drogba, Michael Essien, Reece James, among many others, to leave their mark on Chelsea's storied history.